My name is Shiloh Daily. I am a real estate agent.
So how many properties have you sold, or how many leases?
I've currently have sold almost 30 leases.
Not everyone is interested in college.
We really have to stop pressuring people to go to college.
What's been the hardest part for you as a real estate agent?
Being disciplined enough to know that some months you're not going to get paid a check.
Help me figure out how to get a house in the next 2 or 3 years.
I would say your first priority is to...
Before we get started, I have a small favor to ask. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, then please go ahead and do that. It helps more than you know. Also, please leave me a comment. I will go through them and try to read and reply to as many of them as I can. If you have a question that you would like to ask a future speaker, leave it in the comments section. Thank you. Welcome to Growth Mindset Mastery, where our mission is to turn your next challenge into the opportunity that changes everything. My realtor friend is here. Welcome, Shiloh.
Howdy, howdy.
I'll let you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been working on the past few years.
So my name is Shiloh Daily. I am a real estate agent, currently doing continuing education. I am 20 years old.
What kind of continuing education are you doing?
So I'm doing continuing education for real estate right now to keep my license active.
Yeah, I do that for nursing. Okay. So does that help you get more contracts? Does it give you more credibility within the field?
Absolutely. If you don't do continuing education, it pretty much makes your license expire, and then you're no longer an active agent.
Okay, so it lets you keep your license.
Right, yeah.
So what made you want to get into real estate?
So when I was in 8th grade, there was this good board game called Monopoly. And Monopoly, actually, I was asking my dad, "Hey Dad, what's a job where you collect money from people that rent properties?" He's like, "Well, son, that's called a landlord." And ever since then, I went on a whole hiatus on how real estate works. Basically, watched YouTubers like Graham Stephan, and he really inspired me a lot.
So how many properties have you sold, or how many leases?
I've currently have sold almost 30 leases. So I know a lot about the property management side, how that works.
Have you actually sold any actual properties?
No, not yet.
Okay, too bad.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Getting the first is always the challenge, but I'm here for the long term. I love real estate, so.
That's a big payday once you sell your first property,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
What does the realtor usually collect on something like that?
There's two sides of a transaction. There's the buyer's agent and the seller agent. So typically the buyer's agent would have 3% and the seller's agent would get 3% paid out by the seller.
How does the commission usually work if you sell a lease? Like, how do you get paid?
My brokerage is a property management company, and they essentially manage properties and have me tour the properties that I lease out to people. And basically, essentially, whenever someone signs the lease and moves, 5 days after move-in, essentially is when you get paid a commission for the lease. However, you can be a buyer's agent for a lease. Whenever I was working with my brokerage, it was about 50% of the first month's rent. If I wasn't the one that brought in the tenant, but another agent did, I would only get 20%.
So the commission you get, whether it's 3% of the total cost of the house, or we're talking about your half of the first month's rent or up to, do you get to keep all of that, or does some of it go to the agency that contracted you?
All agents are under what's called a brokerage, and some of the money will go to the brokerage, and that depends on what brokerage you're with. Some it's 50%, some it's 20%. It really depends on your brokerage.
If you're working for real estate, I mean, how much can you expect to make it a year at the peak of your career? Like, you're doing everything right. You're selling a lot of houses. You're a brilliant salesman. The economy's fluctuating a little bit, but you're doing the best you can. When the economy's booming, you're selling a lot. When the economy's down, you're selling a little bit. Like, what is the peak, the dream for somebody that's in real estate that they're trying to get to?
There's no real cap. It's not like it's a salary job. If you want to work a 9 to 5, real estate's probably not for you then. But if you're cool with being paid on commission, of course, that's certainly a benefit, not having a ceiling. But that also means that there's no lower limit either. So you could make nothing in a year.
What is it about being a realtor that's the big draw for you?
I'd say that I'm a social person, so I certainly like talking to other people. And I've always liked looking at other people's houses and just seeing like how nice they are and just seeing what they've done differently, renovations and stuff. It's always fun for me to see that kind of thing and to really just yeah, I feel very passionate about this. So
Very cool. Okay, so help me then. So say you're talking to 19-year-old me, and I have no money and no job, and I want to get a house, and like a lot of people in 2025, everything seems like it's so unpredictable. The economy's been fluctuating, and houses are way higher than they were just a few years ago, but it's also seems like the market might be trending down a little bit, so I think I hear a lot of young people say, I can't really afford to get a house. So talk to 19-year-old me. Tell me, give me a step-by-step plan. Like, help me figure out how to get a house in the next 2 or 3 years.
well, it's pretty hard to buy a house when you don't have a job, for one thing.
Yes.
It's pretty much impossible. So I would say your first priority is to get a job, because that should be your number one priority if you want to buy a house in the future.
Got a list here of 10 jobs that I did a little bit of research on where young people theoretically could be able to afford a house. They range from about 60 to 90,000, and most of them don't actually require a college degree. I'm curious, if I had you look at this, which one of these jobs most appealing?
Let's see. Could I read the list out loud?
Please.
Alrighty. So here in this list we have electrician at $60,000 a year, power line tech $74,000 a year. We have elevator mechanic $97K a year, construction manager at $98K a year. We have plumber at $60K a year, and police officer $64K a year, nurse $93K a year, flight attendant $68K a year, aircraft mechanic $75K a year, and building inspector at $67K a year, and engineer at $91K a year. Alrighty. So, okay, all of these jobs are basically blue collar jobs that you can get with a certification or
There's only a couple on there that actually require a college degree, but I didn't include any that require more than a 4-year degree. This list was interesting because you actually have potential for a decently high paycheck that might afford you the ability to get a house without going to school for 8-10 years.
we really have to stop pressuring people to go to college. People are preaching college is the absolute answer to everything. It'll solve all your problems.
I think we're moving away from that now. I think a lot more people are interested in trade school.
Yeah, Gen Z is actually making a turn. Yeah,
Trade school.
for sure.
If you were determined to get a house, like say you got married within a year from now, like which one of these jobs would you be most interested to do to try and get a paycheck where you could get a house for your family?
Being a trucker or any driving job would pay decently well.
That's good money.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think truckers probably somewhere 60, 70K, something like that. So you can afford.
I've heard of truckers making six figures actually.
Oh really?
Yeah, like I've heard some. I had a friend of mine that is actually managing the trucking, and I asked him how much do your truckers make, and he says around 2,000 a week. I've also considered being a mechanic, and I really like cars, really like working on cars. That's also one of my other dream jobs.
Yeah, mechanic is on here.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, elevator mechanic and aircraft mechanic.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm thinking car mechanic, auto mechanic.
Auto
Right,
mechanic
yeah.
was roughly in this neighborhood, I believe, as well. It seems like there is still the option on the table to get a house. I just wonder if a lot of people know these options are available. You can go to college, you could spend 4 years there, spend $60,000, $70,000 more, rack up a bunch of debt, and then come out not making a higher paycheck and end up a bartender anyway.
It's a pretty high percentage of people that graduate from college that end up going to a job afterwards that don't even require a college degree. I don't know the exact statistics on that, but but if you're just going to college to just waste time on a useless degree, don't even go, man.
What's been the hardest part for you as a real estate agent?
The hardest part? That's a good question, honestly. Um, I guess like dealing with certain individuals that leave a bad taste in your mouth, I would say.
Oh, sure. Customer service.
Yeah. Thankfully, there's more good people than bad. I only have a handful of bad experiences, though. Being disciplined enough to know that some months you're not going to get paid a check, but still working that, especially if you have responsibilities and stuff that, and real estate's your full-time job. Like, you certainly have to know what you're doing, and you certainly have to budget very, very well.
What do you think keeps people from getting into real estate?
You have to learn a lot of information. Not all the information that you learn as you're active on the job is going to be the same information as you're learning in real estate school. 90% of first-year agents quit.
Wow.
So if you don't quit your first year, you're actually in the top 10% of realtors.
I love that mindset. That's something that I hear Alex Hormozy talk a lot about. Talks about climbing a mountain, and there's different pathways up the mountain, and some of them are steeper than others, but a lot of people tend to get discouraged because they're not on the steepest path. But then if you switch over to try something else, you've got to learn a whole new skill set.
Right.
So when I hear that, I think of some of the stuff that I've tried to do, like if I'm trying to, I don't know. I mean, a lot of stuff in the hospital, it takes a lot of time to figure out, but I mean, if you just stick with it for a couple of years, you start to realize, oh, this isn't hard. It's not hard to do this job. It's just hard to learn to do this job. So you hang in there. You work a lot less hard in the long run, I think.
Don't quit, because a lot of people can be caught up in this analysis paralysis, and just, trying different things. I bet Mr. Beast wanted to quit. I bet he wanted to quit a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He says,
like,
yeah, I heard him say, it's like one of the biggest things that helped me is I just got used to doing things I didn't want to do. And
right.
I think that'd be huge for Generation Z. Like, I mean, he's Gen Z, but I think that's one of the big differences between success and failure. It's like you've got a hold of something that the whole rest of us could really learn from. It's like sometimes, I have to clean poop. I got to do a lot of stuff. And it's human, right? Like, I'm a nurse. Like, not everyone's able to function adequately in the hospital. So, I mean, you got to get over those barriers. But, I mean, like, it's also sometimes you're getting paid a decent amount of money. So you fixate on the reward that's coming for doing the tough stuff.
Embrace the suck.
Right.
And a lot of success is just embracing the suck, bro. And that's really what it's all about, is just going through the hard part, because I think about 80 or 90% of being successful is just starting and just keep going, man. I mean, working at Chipotle, $15 an hour might not be enough right now, but if you work your way up to being a manager, managers make enough to make a living.
Maybe Chipotle should be on the list. I talked to a guy from Chipotle. He told me it's almost like military. Like, they keep promoting you over time, and in 20 years you'll be the branch manager, and then you make like $300K. So,
that actually makes you $300K?
That's what he said. I mean, it's a big responsibility.
Dude, sign me up.
Well, like, you're running all the Chipotles in the state or something like that. Like, you're running the whole region. But yeah, so I mean, it takes 20 years to get there. I think your biggest risk is me not taking any risk at all.
I know people in their 20s that still don't have their license.
Right, and that's crazy, right?
That's so crazy. Like, but I don't know. To me, I think learning to drive is one of the key essentials to being an adult in today's world. If they just, I don't know, had a better mindset or something. I don't know.
Mindset's part of it, but I think they also don't see the reward that's in it for them. And maybe
they think everything's meaningless.
Well, I think there's that, but I don't know that we get up and do stuff because we think that it's going to be something meaningful. I think part of the reason we get up and do stuff is because we're hungry, Like, if I was hungry, I'd get out of bed. If I needed food, I would get a job and I'd go work. But if I had all those things available and nobody ever pushed me to have drive for stuff like that, I wonder if that's part of the reason why. I mean, you see the studies where first-generation immigrants tend to do a lot better than people who grew up here. We're not talking about ethnicity. We're talking about, did you grow up in the United States? So, I mean, I mean, I didn't. I saw a lot of poverty. I think you grew up in India, right?
Yeah. I definitely saw poverty.
When you've got
Yeah.
some kind of exposure to that scarcity, you know what it can be like. And I think it makes you more grateful for what you have, but it also pushes you to try and not lose what you have because you know it might not always be available.
Part of the reason too is that they take America for granted, and the fact that they're living in a first world country where they can just, binge in their addictions, like, whether it's video game addiction, porn addiction.
Exactly.
Like that. I think porn addiction is the biggest detriment to men in today's society.
What do you think the United States needs most right now?
The U.S. definitely needs Jesus, man. There's certainly a lot of sin in America and just around the world. America just really needs Jesus Christ to,
For sure.
Save them from their sins and to, and for people to declare them as his Lord and as their Lord and Savior. So,
What age did you move out of your parents' house?
I moved out at age 19.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that is way ahead of a lot of the generation. I mean, what do you think the average age to move out is? If you had to guess.
I would like to think 22, but certainly it's 26, right?
It's 26 to move out of your parents' house, and I think it's 35 to own a house. And so,
Wow. I'd want to own a house by 26. I want to be a landlord one day, own properties.
how are you working towards that goal right now?
I'm just doing what I can control just by working where I work now and my real estate and doing the continuing education, doing the things I might not want to do right now, but will benefit me long term in the future. Certainly in the future, I want to save for property. Even when Grab and Stefan did this, he did house hacking where he bought a duplex, lived in one side, and had another tenant live in the other side. And his housing payment was essentially nothing. So if you're able to, cut down on housing costs like that, that's significant, man. That's going to save you a lot of money, especially starting out as a man or a woman if you're willing to do that too. You can even do the same thing with a house too. Buy a big house, rent out the rooms as well. It doesn't have to be multifamily or even an apartment. There's actually you can actually do on 1 to 4 residential 1 to 4 unit residential properties. You can put down as little as 3.5% as a down payment.
Okay.
So
How do I get the 3%? Because a lot of people want 20.
they have to apply for that residential loan. But the downside of that is you do have to pay for something called PMI, which stands for private mortgage insurance. And that can typically be about 1% of the home price per year. So there's a monthly cost to that, but I know that's 1% per year.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be a lot. So I would rather have that 20% down. But you're really not that far away from that 3% if you want to do that. You just got to find the right house that has one of those 3% loans available. House hacking is such a great way to do it. And I think maybe one of the misconceptions is that you have to be the house hacker to make money from it. But I think you really, I like to think that you create some value no matter who you are in that process. Because if you're the owner and you've got a 4-bedroom house and your mortgage payment, let's say it's $2,500, and then you charge everyone $700. You got 3 people living there, so that's about $2,100 to you. You pay $400 a month. You saved a ton of money, and most of that money is going to interest, right? So you're not really getting a lot of equity out of that straight away, but your living cost has gone way down, and you own a house. And then for everyone else moving in there, they've got a way lower bill, so they can start to build their own capital to maybe hack their own house.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. House hacking is a very powerful thing, especially benefits the owner because they get a way lower bill. And the way I want to approach it is once I get into that home, get into that mortgage, do the house hacking thing. And my plan is basically to just try and pay it off early by making extra payments towards the principal. You could live with your parents for very cheap too, and also save up for down payment on a house as well. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people have this big ego, like, oh, I don't live with my parents anymore. I think there's certainly a level of freedom you have with having no debt, and by I even had this with my student loans. Like, once I paid off my student loans, I just felt freer. I didn't feel like I was chained to the government. You know what I mean? Sure, it was a smaller amount because I only went for a semester, but I think, paying it off as soon as you can is powerful.
On this podcast, we have a closing tradition. That's actually going to change. What we've been doing is we've been having the previous speaker ask a question, not knowing who the next speaker will be, and then we have the next speaker answer that question. So that's what we're going to be doing.
So I'm answering what the previous speaker
You're
is?
going to answer what the previous speaker said.
Oh, fun.
Yep, you will. It is fun.
So they don't know who I am?
They did not know who you were. So not knowing who the next speaker is, I will read you the question that's been left for you. But first, we're actually going to be changing this tradition to be more engaging to the audience. So what we're going to do the next time is we're going to have, when you pick a question for the next person, it's going to be questions drawn from the audience, but you're going to choose which one you like the best, and we're going to let you modify one word.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, almost gamified. So
that sounds fun.
Yeah, we got the speaker and the audience participation.
Let's do it.
The question that has been left for you is, if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
I've always loved the superpower of being in of cloning myself, duplicating myself, being in multiple places at the same time.
You could sell twice as many houses that way.
Dude, imagine. Like, it's not just that, but there are so many times when there's two places I want to go to, but I can't go to both because they are conflicts of interest. And I want to experience both. So I want to be able to basically clone myself and go to both.
Yeah.
Or even do triple myself. I don't care. I just want to be able to, basically have those memories and to live those experiences, Of course, that's gonna create a bunch of what if questions, but I'd be able to know what that path leads down to if I, but yeah, that's certainly the superpower I want to have, pretty much.
Two places at once.
Yeah, just of course people can say, oh, you could just use teleportation and just do that, but
not too much back and forth.
Yeah, a lot going on. Yeah. But what was your superpower? I wonder what that is.
My superpower, I think I always say I would like to be able to heal people with a touch.
Oh, you're already a nurse, bro. You could already do that.
Well, I'd go up and down all the floors of the hospital, and I'd have everyone walk out, and I'd look at the people in charge. I'm like, I guess we're out of a job.
That's the kind of power Jesus has. He was able to touch people and heal them.
Yeah.
It's a pretty admirable power. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Shiloh, it's been a pleasure.